What's up guys, DPX here, reviewing today Cobra Kai Season 6 Part 2. I feel like it's been a while since I've reviewed something that's not a game, you know. Been a while since I've reviewed a show, been a while since I reviewed a movie, but I'm reviewing Cobra Kai Season 6 Part 2 right now. So before we get started, you know what to do. Be sure to like this video, subscribe, and hit the bell, leave a comment. I will show you no mercy. So, for some perspective, also, sorry about the lighting. I'm sorry, but for some perspective, I got into like this franchise, the Karate Kid and Cobra Kai franchise, through this show and fell in love with it. Like Cobra Kai, like I first watched after like the third season came out, so that was kind of my launching, like how I started with the first 3 seasons. So Cobra Kai is like one of my favorite shows, like ever. So it's a little hard for me to review this series because there is some bias, you know. It was like watching this show, like the show kind of means like something special to me, you know. But I will try to be fair. You know, I felt like I've been fair in my other reviews of this show, like other seasons, and to give my perspective on Part 1, you know, over time I started to like think about more and more issues with Part 1. Part 1 is easily like the weakest set of episodes of this show. Even then, like, it's still good. Like, it's still like enjoyable. It's still like what you like about the show on a surface level. But there was some like writing issues that plagued Part 1 that didn't really, like, they were not present in any of the other previous 5 seasons. Like, the other seasons avoided writing issues like the ones in Season 6. And then there's also, like, you are rehashing a lot of stuff in Part 1. Some stuff feels forced. What do I think about Part 2? Because this one is, like, the main focus is the Sekai Taikai, you know, the World Tournament. So I knew that this part was going to be better than Part 1 because, like, Part 1 was purposely slow, but you're, like, building to the tournament. So you kind of, it's in a weird spot where it's, like, an epilogue for Season 5, which, with some tweaks, could have worked as a series finale. But, you know, it worked as an epilogue for Season 5, while also gearing up for this tournament, and it did feel a little awkward at times. We're at the tournament, and it's very entertaining. It's very fun. You know, it does rehash some things. You know, Daniel and Johnny are still butting heads, which, you know, it kind of feels like they shouldn't be at this point. You know, like, you can always do that so much to the point where it's like, alright, come on, guys. I felt like in Season 5, they really made up, you know, or they were really on good terms. They did not dislike each other. So, and then Season 6 starts, and they're, like, not on the same page all of a sudden. And then Part 2, they're still not on the same page, although, like, they do make up, and then they don't, they fall out again, and then they, you know, but I think where it is now, like, how these two ended this part, I think, is good. And I will say, aside from the Daniel and Johnny stuff, and there are a few things spoilery that, you know, are exceptions to what I'm about to say, but it doesn't quite feel like a rehash. Like, sure, there's melodrama and stuff like that, you know, relationship drama, but it feels different, you know. Before, it was like love triangles, you know. You like this girl, but I'm dating this girl, you know, just stuff like that. And it is, like, that type of stuff is back, but I feel like there's a new spin on it, you know. There's new characters, there's new sort of dynamic, and I found that interesting. Would I have wished they came up with other things as opposed to just melodrama? Maybe, but, like, if you're gonna come up with melodrama, I feel like, you know, what you did, like, what they did, I think works. And the other characters, by the way, you know, in Part 1, they introduced, or they went to, not North Korea, South Korea for the, for Cobra Kai, and they introduced characters like Quan, who's back, but then they also introduced another dojo, the Iron Dragons, who's got Axel and Zara, 2 new characters who were pretty entertaining and pretty, like, powerful fighters. And then also Sensei Wolf, who I thought like he made like a good rival for Johnny, but even then, like, the way certain things happen with their rivalry, I feel like it's a bit dumb. Like, especially the way it starts is like, think of the most petty thing possible. It's basically how it starts. But I found the new characters entertaining. The fights, the tournament, I found entertaining. Sure, like, some people were a bit upset about how it just doesn't feel like karate. Like, I've heard some people say it's like American Gladiator or like professional wrestling. And yeah, there are aspects of that, but I feel like we've gotten 2 All Valleys, 4 if you want to count like the movies as well. We've gotten so many All Valleys that are just normal karate tournaments, which I get that's what you come here for. But like, the Sekai Taikai changes things up a bit, which I like. There's also the stuff with Tori, which I thought that was a good twist, and it was a good twist at the end of part 1. But at the same time, it kind of did undermine like a really great arc she went through within the previous seasons. But I do like the way it's handled this time. Without getting into spoilers, like, the Miyagi-Dos aren't really like, oh, fuck you, Tori. They're kind of, like, they are hurt that she left them. Like, they understand why, and they're not, like, mean to her or anything like that. They don't bully her, because they understand what she's going through. But, like, they're not on the same page, but they're not angry at her, which I thought was a very interesting route to go, and it's not rehashing things. It did come at the cost of, a great character arc that Tori went through for quite a few seasons, just to end up back in Cobra Kai. Was a little disappointing, but I think they did the best with that they could. And without getting into spoilers, that finale, oh boy, they went there. It's not perfect though, and even though I am liking season 6, like, overall, I think season 6 is still a good season of television. When you compare it to other seasons of this show, I feel like it's certainly the weakest. But it's still a good season of television, all things considered. Right. I still have issues here. For one, like, the Daniel trying to find, like, this, the secret about Mr. Miyagi, I thought that was intriguing at first, but, like, it's just, out of everything that they could drag out for, like, the whole season, this one is, like, I kind of lost interest, Like, I felt like Daniel let it affect him too much in part 1, and now in part 2, it's like, and the way it leads him, there's an entire episode where Daniel, like, goes off and does something, and, like, I'm not gonna say exactly what happens, but, like, something happens to him, and he doesn't, like, tell anyone, he doesn't report it to the authorities, and, like, I get, like, you watch this show, you kind of just have to suspend your disbelief and understand that the police just don't exist in this universe. They just don't exist. Unless it's convenient, But, like, certain things in this part is just like, come on now. Like, I feel like I say this about every time I review this show, but, like, this one's really, like, okay. Like, really, Daniel, you're not gonna, like, tell anyone about that? And although I do really like the finale and, like, what happened in there, I feel like it did kind of, like, again, about the lack of police, or security. This felt a lot less realistic, like, considering where this happened, the setting and the context. Like, no way should it have gotten to the point that it did where it was, if you know what I mean. It's also, I don't know how to say this without spoiling, because it is kind of a major spoiler, but there's a character who we have not seen, and I love that they came back. I knew that they were going to come back eventually, but even though the way in which they brought the character back was cool, and I was pretty excited, there are issues I have with it. And with going back to the finale, with the way things ended, I don't really know how they wrap that up, how they, like, pay that off. within the next 5 episodes. And I don't really mean that in a good way, you know, because we have to conclude the whole show now. And you deal with something as insane as that, which happened at the end of episode 10. You know, I don't understand, like, what you do. And also, a lot of people seem to not like the fact that Netflix split this up into 3 parts. Now, I remember when season 5 came out, and, like, I remember binging that in a day after waiting for that for, like, a year, and being like, man, I waited for this season for, like, a year, and I'm done with it already in, like, one day. You know, if Netflix did weekly releases for their shows, like how other streamers do, like Cobra Kai would be crazy if they did it every week, which I get maybe not doing that, but I kind of did, like, even before they announced that they were splitting season 6 into 3 parts. First of all, I did really want them to do more than 10 episodes for season 6 because it was the final season, and also I want them to split it up. But the way they're doing it, although I like the fact that I guess this is a hot take, I like the fact that they split it up, you know, because you don't just, you know, you wait so long for the final season of Cobra Kai, and then you binge it in the day, and it's done, and you move on. Now you spread it across. I think, so I like the fact that they split it up into 3 parts, but the way they did it, I'm not too thrilled about, you know what I mean? Like, they treat every part like their own mini-season, which I guess you could do, but then that means, like, everything, they set things up and have to pay them off within 5 episodes. You know, you don't really get a thing where it's like, you set something up at the beginning of the season, and then it gets paid off at the end of the season. You know, you get a few things, but, like, some things feel rushed. You know what I mean? Like, episode 10 was kind of like a culmination of everything that happened within the past 5 episodes, but it was, you had lines of dialogue, you had rivals, you know, fighting each other, being like, and saying the lines that you would expect them to say, but it didn't feel like they had enough time to cook, you know what I mean? It's really hard to describe this without spoiling things. But yeah. But if they didn't split this into 3 parts, or if they did but didn't quite, like, write each part like they were their own season, certain storylines wouldn't feel so rushed, I feel. But overall, like I said, even though season 6 so far is, like, easily the weakest season of Cobra Kai, I think that is a testament to the show, because this is still a really good show. Season 6 is still watchable, it's still fun, it's still enjoyable, there's still a lot of good things, and it's still, you know, you still get what you love out of it. At least I did. So if this is your worst season, and also the worst season, like, by far, you know, I think it's way worse than the other seasons, but it's still good, I think you have a good show. And even though things are a bit messy now, I do have faith that they will be able to stick the landing in the finale. Like I said, this is a very hard show for me to rank, you know, because even though I've done it with my other, like, when I reviewed the other seasons of this show, I never feel right about it, you know what I mean? Because this is, like, one of my favorite shows. I always want to give it a 10 out of 10, but I can't do that. Unless I really feel like it deserves a 10, I can't always give it a 10, you know what I mean? And I didn't give part 1 a 10, I don't even think I gave season 5 a 10. So I don't know what to rate this one. I guess I'll give it an 8, you know, because I think it's a really solid season with some definite issues that feel like they're only worse of issues because of this show, as opposed to, like, just being, like, if any other show that isn't as good as Cobra Kai had these issues, they wouldn't be, like, the bigger issues. I don't know what I'm trying to say. These issues feel like they are bigger issues because of the show it's in, if that makes sense. I don't know what I'm saying here. Let's wrap this up. Good season, good part. I still love this show, and this doesn't ruin the entire show for me. Not at all. And it's still good. So that's my review for Cobra Kai Season 6 Part 2. We've gone for quite a while. And again, my opinion, my score on this part might change over time. But yeah, what do you guys think about this? Do you guys like the show, not like the show? You guys seen it, not seen it? And if you haven't seen it, do you guys want to see it, not want to see it? Anything about the show, let me know down below. Anyway, if you like to come subscribe, or I will show you no mercy.